Hi guys, in this video I would like to focus more on Luna 7, our latest addition to Luna HSM platform, and specifically to cover maybe 3 points. One is the new way to provision a client and install client and enable it to work with crypto resources. Second one is to show per partition security officer feature that is the only way to go in Luna 7. And third one is to show how we can control policy per partition. And the beauty of it is same Luna with latest firmware 7.1 can have cloning or key export functionality defined per partition. So you don't need to buy two separate units if you have a use case that require private key to be exported from wrapped out of HSM. So you can use the same box. Before I will move forward with the demonstration, I'd like to spend a few moments on to describe a role policy or a roles model, how it used to be, how it became with Luna 7, and give you maybe a little bit reasoning why we're moving this direction. So this is usual slide that I use whenever I need to explain a need for role separation on Luna 5 and Luna 6. You have administrator that is in charge of entire box to rack it in shelf and provide some power supply and networking capability. And then you have HSM security officer that is in charge of HSM policies, global HSM policies such as the password complexity, maybe licensing, how many partitions you have, and so on. HSM security officer would be in charge of HSM global settings such as licenses, partitions, password or PIN complexity. Once he defined partitions and he assigned specific HSM partition owners to work with those partitions, then application owner, or what we call partition owner, can use crypto resources and generate keys inside of HSM. So this is very standard schema and the way how it used to work. What we started to see in the last few years that HSM as an anchor of trust became shared resource even within organizations. So we used to have HSM per PKI project, but later on another business unit come with SQL transparent data encryption, and so on and so on. So same resource started to be utilized by a different business units, and this grow, right? So the more need for crypto resources, and this is why we created Crypto Command Center application. But even so, in the same organization, you still can have HSM security officer that will create partitions, assign user to partitions, and allow them to have crypto resources. But what we see happening is the hardware itself became more powerful. You can have many more partitions that need to be managed across different projects. Even more than this, the users maybe not necessarily reside within the same premises. Users can reside in different over the internet and use subcontractors, or secure manufacturing can be across the globe, and they will need to have an access to the same hardware security model. What we believe the right way to go is to allow every of those subsidiaries, and if you think about MSSP environment, each one can represent different account. So what we see a best approach is to allow every tenant to work with its own HSM security officer role. This is new model. When you have a centralized HSM resource in MSSP provider cloud, it can be IBM, it can be Amazon, it can be Azure, it can be Google, it can be Gemalto data protection on demand. We will manage hardware as appliance, right? The power, networking, but then each tenant will have security officer that will control the policy across entire partition, and then he will manage his own local application owners. We created additional layer of detailization for role separation, when security officer can be associated with every business unit, with every project. So once we understand the concept of administrator on the top, that only will make sure the physicality of this appliance is good and create some partitions. So let's move forward and do hands-on. This is my HSM. Let me show you the status of this HSM. It's Luna 7. I have latest firmware for today. I have 3 partitions out of 10. Administrator of this appliance, I'm going to create a bunch of partitions. And I will start with partition 5 and partition 6. So right now I'm creating empty blobs, and those blobs will need to be configured by tenant. So if I go partition list, you'll see all these partitions. By the way, I could potentially also manage a size of this partition. So let's do partition size. The idea why I would do it is maybe I do see some partitions not utilized in the maximum space, and for this reason I don't want to waste space on HSM. So this is how I can shrink or expand partition on the fly. Obviously I would not be able to make it lower than amount of keys that I have on partition, but you can resize partition without losing any information on it. So if I want to see a specific partition, and let us work on partition 5, you can see that the partition is not initiated, and right now this is all information that we have here. Once I start to work with partition, we will come back and we will see extra lines appear here. So how from the administrator standpoint I created partition. If I'm here, I created partition 5. I'm in contact with this person, and I tell him that you designated to work with partition 5, you designated to work with partition 6, and so on. A local security administrator will go and install Luna client. It's MSI file that we have for Windows and for Linux. Once you install MSI file, you go to the folder, there's application, Luna CM, just to show you that nothing exists right now. VTL verify, I don't have anything. VTL list, I don't have any registered servers. So what I'm doing now, I'm starting with Luna CM. Starting version 6, we started to put more weight on Luna CM rather than VTL, and Luna 7, the trend continue. Luna CM, it's my client, and I'm going to type this workstation to work with a specific partition. There's a single command that I'm going to use that will create a configuration. So in general, CCFG will create a configuration policy. DP stands for deploy. -N, it's my target. -C is the way how this client is supposed to be known by HSM, and partition is the partition that I was set to work with. The system asked me for administrative password, so it's to make sure that it can exchange certificates with the backend. After this point, all rest is automated, so by the end I will have provisioned partition to myself. I will do fast forward because this process takes between 3 and 4 minutes. So you can see this is the process, how it works. At the end of the process, I can see my socket, but it's still not initiated. So I will need to initiate it. You remember I saw my partition before this command being happened. I saw my clients. So if I do client list, now I can see my client building register. If I can check the client itself, you will see that it's already assigned to partition 5. And if I see partition 5, the status of this partition is still the same. Nothing changed here. So I'm going to initiate this partition. Now think about this partition as HSM. You're going to initiate HSM. So I do partition init minus label, let's call it partition 5. And I have a bunch of parameters that I can type here in the command line. I can type -p for security officer password. And then if you remember, we have domain admin password. So I can also type password for domain admin. I can skip this in the command line and then the system will ask me for all the same information. I can also make auto logon once partition being initiated, and I don't want extra questions. If I go back to my HSM and I see partition, now you can see that I have partition SO established. I still don't have a crypto officer, right? But this line is very similar to HSM. Now since I log on already, I'm going to initiate role for crypto officer. And if we talk about roles, I have partition security officer. This is who I am right now. And you have crypto officer, and then you have crypto user for read-only access. So I'm going to do role init for crypto officer. I can type password in a line, or it will just ask me for crypto officer password. Now if I'm going back, you can see that I have crypto officer and done. Now depend how provisioning goes, whether partition owner and crypto officer, same person or maybe same people from the same team, we can control whether crypto officer will require to change his PIN. And this is something that you do with HSM policies. And specifically policy 21. If I enable this policy, then once I initiated the crypto officer role, I still need to log on as crypto officer and change my PIN code at the first use before I can use it. Okay, so we done partition ready. If I go SOC list, you can see I have a label on partition. If I have a bunch of slots, this is my very easy indicator that partition being initiated for me. So let me go here and let me do VTL verify. I'm supposed to see a partition. And now let's go ahead and create few objects on this partition. So for this I will do CK demo. I will establish connection. I will log on as security crypto officer. Okay, and now I can just generate key. Let me generate RSA key 7/248. No errors. If I go here, partition show content, I need to log on as crypto officer. So I do role, log out. Now I want to log in, role, login, minus name, and crypto officer. So I provide my password, and now I do partition content, and I see my 2 keys that I just created. Also, let me show you partition policies on the partition itself. So in this particular partition, I allow key to be cloned, and I do not allow key to be wrapped out of partition. So this is going to be a partition that does not allow me to extract the keys. So let's see attribute for this key. So if I go 24 and I have my keys 129 for my private key. If I go ahead and I will see extractable, it says that I potentially can extract it. Okay, so now let's create another key, wrapping key. So it's going to be AES key 16, and again I will enable all attributes here. So I have now 3 keys: AES key, private key, and public key. And now I want to wrap private key with the public key. So let's do option number 60. 60, it's a key wrapping. Because I'm going to use AES key, I will use option 21. I need to specify what key I want to use as a wrapping key. It's going to be 141. And I want to specify what key I'm going to wrap. And you see that I cannot use this key, I cannot wrap it because partition does not allow me to do so. So remember what we've done here, just 60, 21, and the key that we're going to use to wrap as a wrapping key, and what we try to wrap out. So it didn't work. Now I'm going to assign myself to another partition. So let me see, partition list. We work with partition 5, let's do partition 6. So client, assign, so far so good. If I go here and make show link, show slot is this only one. So I'm going to exit and I'm going to enter to Luna CM again, and now I see the second partition assigned to me. You can see again, this is what I was referred to, how you know if it's initiated or not. I'm going to set myself on slot 2, and I'm going to do partition init label partition 6. This time not to do password, so you can see how the password been asked. So this is my asking for the password. Now domain password, so this is the red key. So now I already logged on to a partition. Partition show policy. I'm going to make it key export partition. I will do partition change policy. Am I right? Yep. Minus slot 2 minus policy 0 minus value 0. And now I'm going to do enable key wrapping. So because enable key wrapping, it's completely change the way how partition works. It's a destructive operation, so yeah, I'm going to lose anything that I had there, but I don't have anything, so I'm okay. Now if I go to partition show policy, you will see private cloning disabled, private wrapping enabled. So this is kind of two binary options. You potentially can have 0 and 0, and if you're familiar with Luna 5, it's going like no backup. It means that the key, when it was created within HSM, you cannot extract it, you cannot copy it, you cannot clone it. Okay, but right now I created my partition 2, I created to be a key export partition. Now I need to create a role init for my crypto officer. I do role logout, role login as crypto officer, my password, partition content. Right now it's empty, I don't have anything. I will close this CDK demo, I will open it again. Now this time, because I have two slots, I need to select which one I want to work. So I'm going to slot 2, and if you remember, this is my key export slot. So same way, I'm going to generate RSA key first, 7. No errors. Now I want to do also AS key. I have 3 keys here, and I'm going to do 60, 80, on 159. So you can see I was able to extract my private key. If I go up, it will say that the key was extracted and saved in my folder as a wrapped key. If I go to my folder, wrapped key, here we are, happened right now. To summarize, we have 2 partitions. Each partition functions differently based on partition policy, and especially around key export. We show how to configure client with a single command and assign it to HSM. We also show how to create partitions, how to assign same client to operate with different partitions. We spoke about the idea behind this change in roles as a result of multi-tenants or MSSP needs to tie different customers on the same hardware. Thank you for watching, and see you on my next video. Thanks.